Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Homebuyer University Live with myself and my partner, David Rodriguez, who will be joining us soon. David is a credit expert with the Phoenix Group, and he's going to be on here soon. This is our second live. We had some good feedback last week, and we're going to continue to deliver as much education as we can as it relates to credit, as it relates to the mortgage side. And if you've got real estate questions, send us a message and we will get an answer. Also, make sure you go check out Texas Mortgage Boss. That is on YouTube. MortgageBossTV.com is the actual URL. Mortgage Boss TV. That's the YouTube channel. You can send us a message there. We're going to be doing this every few weeks. So David will jump on here in a few minutes here, but I do want to start off with just talking about what's going on right now in the market. I've heard so many different stories. I've spoken to so many different people over the last week. A lot of people that are looking for a home are continuing to be frustrated. And I just got a message today about millennials being able to buy and they can't buy, which is just complete not true. Can't judge everybody just because they're a millennial to say millennials can't buy. But I do understand that a lot of the millennials are going to be a little less able maybe to buy a home or own a home as interest rates start to increase, as the prices continue to go up. Now, there's good news coming, guys. These rates are probably going to get to a point where we're going to have a little bit of a slowdown. Now, I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen. Same with prices, right? Prices are going to get to a point where they're not going to continue to increase like they've been, right? We're going to see some leveling off. So the key to understand with this is the reason why interest rates go up right now is because they need to slow down the housing market, right? So some people may say it's out of control. Some people say it's going to pop. It's a bubble. It's this, it's that. Well, the reason why rates go up is to slow down the market. So for you that might be looking for a home, for your first time buyer, for example, okay, this is going to be an opportunity as things slow down for you to get into the market where you're not having so much competition, where you're not having to bid 30, 40, $50,000 over to get in the game. That's to get in the game. That's not even a guarantee that you're going to get the home bidding 20, 30, 40 grand over, right? So I've had a lot of clients that are doing this right now. A lot of them are frustrated for good reason. And so we're going to discuss tonight some things that you can do credit wise, because there has never been a more important time than right now. All right. Over the last probably, I'd say 15 years for you to really, really have your credit tight. Why? Because at different levels of credit scoring, your interest rate can change. Okay. Rates are going up. So any little bit that you can bump up and improve your credit worthiness is going to help you in the long term. It's a big difference, guys, huge difference between, a 680 score versus a 720, right? That difference as far as credit scoring goes puts you in a different tier. It's a big difference if you're low 600s on the credit scoring versus being in the mid to higher 600s. And again, with the rates being so incredibly unpredictable at this point, right? Every little bit helps. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the credit situation. And once David jumps on here, we'll jump into it. In the meantime, again, if you've got questions, send me a message right now. We are taking your questions live. If you look on YouTube, I'm over there as well. So we're on YouTube and Facebook as well at the same time. So again, shoot me your questions and I'll get you an answer. So for credit, let's just talk about some things that you can do until David jumps on here. So credit wise, okay. One of the biggest things that I see when it comes to credit, all right, maxing out credit cards is an absolute credit score killer. It is one of the number one and the first things I look at when I see a lower score. Okay. So the way credit reports work, typically at the top part, you have your score. I can look at a score and automatically kind of know what's going on in a lot of ways. All right. I'm not a genie, but I've looked at enough credit reports to kind of know when I see a certain score, I kind of know, okay, there's collection accounts, there's probably maxed out credit cards, missed payments without me even looking through the report yet. So typically, those are the things you're going to see, and those are the things that will lower your ability to qualify at all. It's also going to lower what you can qualify for, the actual amount that you can qualify for. So, an interest rate right now from 4.5 to 5% is it doesn't seem like a big deal, but long term and short term, that difference can make a difference in whether you qualify or not, or whether you qualify for 250,000 versus 300,000. Okay. It doesn't seem like a big difference, but there is a big difference. So you want to make sure you are doing everything you can to give yourself the best position, put yourself in the best position to get a great interest rate. And great is relative, guys. I understand. All right. Great right now versus great a year ago, not the same thing. I understand. But rates are still, I want to say, they're reasonable. It's reasonable. I tell this story all the time about how I bought a home back in 2006, and my interest rate was 6.5%. Yeah, 6.5, 6.5% was my interest rate, and I was very, very happy to have a 6.5% interest rate when I bought a house back in 2006. Now, people don't really like history necessarily. They don't like to talk about history, right? Um, especially when it comes to their pocketbook, right? People don't like to go by. People don't really care what happened, back in the 80s. The fact that they were paying double-digit interest rates back in the 80s, right? Way before my time. But the reality is there were double-digit interest rates back in the 80s, late 80s, and people were still buying homes. All right. Now, there's going to be a debate about whether I should wait, whether I should still continue to pursue the home ownership in 2022. This is what I'm going to tell you guys. You need to figure out what's best for you, because this is the reality. Interest rates are going up. Yep. So are rents. Rents are going up and up and up. We're at about a 17% year over year increase on rents from a year ago. And there's no sign of slowing down when it comes to rent. So I've had several people that I personally know that have gotten out of a lease, or it was about to be renewed, and they left because the rent was going up so much that they really couldn't afford it. Right? It was so ridiculous. So they ended up finding a rental. I've got several people that this has happened. They found a rental that was actually less expensive than them renewing where they were already at. All right. So landlords are taking the opportunity to basically cash in just like sellers are. Right. And so from a landlord's perspective, you figure these landlords have been really put in a bad position since the pandemic started, because you may not remember, but people were not being forced to pay rent, right? The government said, hey, we got a lot going on right now. We're going to put a moratorium essentially on evictions, right? So you don't have to pay your rent and the landlord can't kick you out. A lot of landlords have been screwed. There's no other way to say it. A lot of people have been screwed by this. They got no help from the government, which was the plan. All right. We know the government doesn't always do what they say they're going to do. I don't know very many people who actually got much assistance. I'm not going to say no one got assistance, but the numbers of people that were not paying rent, the number of landlords that were having to foot a bill for a little while, they didn't get any help. I know a ton of people got no help whatsoever. So from a landlord's perspective, I don't blame these landlords for trying to cash in right now, right? There's an opportunity. We are in a very, very much economy where we love money, right? We are a very capitalistic society. So for the landlords that are trying to make as much money as they can right now, I have zero blame. I don't blame them at all. I just don't. I've been a landlord for 20 years. I don't blame them. So, but getting back to the point here, renting versus buying, renting versus owning. To me, if you are financially ready to do it now and you are mentally prepared, that probably is most important, that you're mentally ready to take this because it is not easy right now. So with everything you're hearing on the news, interest rates, housing market, it's all new to all of us right now, right? To have everything going on at the same time. So we've got inflation, all right? We've had inflation before, not new. We've got interest rates, high interest rate, higher interest rate, not new, right? But the pricing of homes going up so dramatically over the last year and a half, to have all three of these going on at the same time, that is where people are having a hard time, right? So you've got three hugely important factors as it relates to housing, and they're all at pretty close to all-time highs, especially with the prices going through the roof like they have since the pandemic. Logically, it doesn't make any sense. It really logically makes no sense that we have a pandemic. We have one of the best years ever during the pandemic year. We then follow that up with another banner year in 2021. So logically, it just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. But I will tell you from the perspective, people have been relocating to Texas, where I'm at, for a very long time, a long time. But due to the pandemic, a lot of people have taken that and kicked it into overdrive, right? It's in overdrive right now. So that means a lot of California, right? A lot of East Coast, high cost areas, not just California. People have been relocating from California for years. That's nothing new. But the level and the amount of people that are relocating to Texas has just gone through the roof. So I mentioned this a few weeks ago. February, Houston, specifically Houston, was the number one relocation spot for the month of February 2022, right? So we know Austin has been off the charts for the last really several years, but this last couple of years have been really it's just been fire in a straight fire in Austin, Texas. So we know these areas. Texas is just a hot spot right now. So you got to be a little bit more vigilant if you are looking for a home. And I don't mean that viciously, but you got to be a little bit more vigilant. You got to be way more creative than ever. And you got to have a high-powered realtor that knows what the heck they're doing, right? By the way, if you need somebody, reach out to me. I've got a lot of good people that I can get you in contact with if you're looking for a high-powered agent. But you need a great team. So you need a really good realtor. You need an excellent loan officer. I might know one. And you also need a credit expert like David, who is amazing, right? And so everybody's not going to be in a position to own right now. You might want to wait. You might want to strengthen your position financially before you make a move. And I completely understand why you may want to wait on that. So David and the Phoenix Group specializes specifically in our industry in the mortgage and real estate space. That's what they do. And so if you're looking for someone to help you get better credit, if you have some things on your credit that need to be taken care of, you're not sure how to do it, David is a great resource. All right. So you can hit me up in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you're in need of help. Let me know what you think about this market in 2022. All right, we're just hitting April now. We're the first week of April. For us in this industry, this is typically where we start to really slowly start to see a pickup. So April, May, June, July, August, September, October, give or take. We start to see a little bit of a slowdown, October timeframe. So give me your thoughts. I'd love to know what you're thinking about the market right now. There's so many talking heads. There's so much negativity. I'm more about trying to bring out the positivity in what's going on right now. And again, if you're a home buyer and you're trying to get into the market in 2022, maybe if you waited a little bit, and listen, I want everybody to own a home. I still think it's the best way for most people to build wealth. But if you're waiting a little bit, it might not be a bad idea, right? We'll see what happens with interest rates. The experts that predict interest rates are not always right? We had no idea we were going to be in this position this early in the year. This was supposed to happen towards the end of the year, maybe even later. The middle of the year to the end of the year. Okay. we're ahead of schedule with these interest rate increases. Now, the Fed interest rate, the federal funds rate, guys, that is not necessarily something that's directly tied to an increase in interest rates, right? It's short-term money. So when you see the Fed increase, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but I want to make sure people understand. When you see the federal funds rate, the Fed rate increase, that is not a direct, does not have a direct impact on an interest rate increasing, right? Short-term money, so personal loans, car loans, that type of stuff is usually affected by that. Interest rates are not necessarily a direct effect from the federal funds rate going up. So let's get back to the credit real quick here, because I mentioned having credit cards that are maxed out is a absolute credit score killer. Okay, so easy way to fix that is to keep your credit at, I like to use 20%. You'll hear a lot of people say 30% or less. I just like to use 20, because if I say 20, maybe you get to 20, 25. But this is the way to maximize your credit score. When you've got maxed out credit cards, it kills your credit score. It is the number one thing I see. And it's an easy fix. It may not be something that you can do immediately, but it's an easy fix. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So easy fix is to pay down your balances. All right. It's an easy fix. The other thing you want to make sure is that your payments are on time, right? It's a 35% of your credit score is based on payment history. And when you miss a payment, it just takes time. It takes time to fix that. You max out a credit card, right? You can go fix that immediately, essentially, if you've got the resources to pay it down. But making your payments on time, if you miss a payment, it does so much damage and it takes so much longer for your score to jump back up. So payment history is 35%. 30% is utilization. All right. Utilization, that is huge. So that, again, you got $1,000 limit on your credit card. You don't want to have a balance of $950, guys. It's killing your score. Just like that. Killing your score. And I see multiple people I see multiple credit cards that will be maxed out, and immediately I know they're killing a credit score, right? So again, make sure you guys send me questions in the either on YouTube. You can send me questions, or shoot me a DM here on Facebook. I'm monitoring both of those right now. So anyway, so those are deal killers. Those are credit score killers. And it is something that will put you in a much worse financial position where you're trying to get a loan now and your scores are in the lower sixes or even less than that. You're really, really putting yourself in a bad situation, because interest rates are largely based on your credit. That's simple. Credit score, down payment. Those are two of the biggest factors when it comes to a to an interest rate. So you want to put yourself in a much stronger position, get your credit score up higher. By the way, even if you're not looking to own a home, if you're looking to rent, they're still pulling credit, guys, right? They're still pulling credit. They pull credit for everything now. So there's no way that won't help you, whether you increase your score and then go own a home. Increasing your score is going to help you with anything, right? And one of the things that David and the Phoenix Group are doing is they are actually going into high schools to educate high schoolers about credit, which I think is awesome. We were supposed to talk about it. We'll have to get him back in here and to discuss this. But so his company and they are going to educate high schoolers about credit, right? I'm so happy that they're doing this, because this is something that's really, really tangible that these kids will actually need and use. They teach so much stuff in high school that is just fluff, in my opinion. It's just fluff. This is real deal stuff. Like, you need to know how to maintain your credit. You have to know this, because they're going to use it from the time they step out of high school on. I know I got my first credit card, probably a freshman in college. I wasn't schooled on credit at all. So I went and had a party. What do? It's money, right? It's free money. That's not what happens. But I had that credit card for years, and I would run that thing up over and over. College kid, not much money. I just ran that card up like crazy, over and over and over and over again. But again, I was never trained, I was never educated on how to handle credit. I was never educated. I had to do it myself, but that wasn't until I got into my, my 30s, honestly, before I really understood that, oh, okay, I gotta pay that bill on time. Ah, okay, got it. Now we are doing a much better job now of educating these kids. Like, I am all about educating my kids personally on this stuff because it is real tangible stuff that um, people can actually use. These kids need it. They need it. And this is something that will not go by the wayside, unlike, I don't know, algebra. Unless you're a statistician of some sort. I bring up algebra because my kids, my daughter asks me about algebra all the time, and I have no idea how to do it. All right, there it is. Anyway, I'm a mortgage lender. I know how to add, subtract, divide, and use a calculator. All right, so David's going to jump on here in a second. Let me see. Let's see. He's having a tough time jumping on, so I'm going to get David back on here. So anyway, what questions do you guys have? Send me your questions, and I will put them on the screen. And let's see, David should be jumping on here any second. So let's keep things moving. One of the other things we want to address are collection accounts. Okay, so let's talk about this and why this is important. Oftentimes, people will do themselves a disservice by actually paying a collection. And I'm going to get David in here to discuss this. You mean well by paying the collection. I understand that. Oftentimes, actually paying a collection will hurt you. So before you pay off anything, talk to your lender. Talk to your lender before you do it, because if you do it and you mean well, it could actually hurt you. So before you pay off a collection and you're in the process, if you're in the process or thinking about getting into owning a home, do not pay anything off until you talk to your loan officer, or you talk to your realtor. All right, one of the two, probably your loan officer, because your loan officer is going to have way more insight on your finances than a realtor is. Okay, that's our job, is to understand your finances and what we need to do to structure everything appropriately for you to be able to get get your loan approved, get you through escrow, get you through underwriting, and get you closed, because that's ultimately where we want to get you. But oftentimes this stuff pops up. You pay something off because you thought you needed to do it. Now your scores drop. Now we got to work to get your score back up. It's just adding more steps to a process that's already challenging right now. All right. Getting a regular mortgage loan right now is not an easy thing to do, which is good from the perspective that everybody's looking for that bubble. Everybody's looking for another 2008. The big difference right now is that these people that are in, buying homes right now, people are well qualified. Our lending standards have changed dramatically for the better, right? Back in 2006, 07, lending standards were, to say they were loose is an understatement. That's an understatement to say they were loose. All right. Now we've got well qualified people. We've got people that do have equity in their homes right now. And if someone gets in a tight spot, they can sell their home if they need to. All right. I just read a story the other day about couples in Florida that are getting divorced, and they are staying in the house together because they can't afford to go rent. Can't afford to rent. It's cheaper to keep her. Ain't that the word? Ain't that a song? It's got to be a country song. All right. It's cheaper to keep her. So literally, these people are getting divorced, and because the market is so expensive to own and rent, there are couples that are staying put. Like, listen, I don't like you. I don't want to be married to you, but we need to stay together. It's just way more convenient right now and way more economical for us to live in the same house. So This is it's very uncharted water, uncharted territory. What we're dealing with right now, with the again with all those three factors going on. So, what do I think is going to happen in 2022? We're going to see a little bit of a slowdown. Are we going to have a bubble? I don't know if that's going to hit in 2022. And then, what is your definition of a bubble? I'd love to know what your thoughts are. What's a bubble in your mind? What does that look like? Recession, I think, is inevitable in my opinion. I just don't see how we can maintain the pace that we're on right now, um, with rates, pricing, everything that's going on right now. I just don't see, because this is the one thing. Everything's going up, right? Gas, interest rate, everything's going up, but wages are not, right? Wages are not going up. Is anybody getting a raise? I don't see a lot of raises being given right now. Now, certain industries, yes, but there's not a lot of the income, and the employee wages are definitely not keeping up with the increase in goods, the increase in goods and services, the increase in gas, right? It's not going up equally at the same pace, which ultimately is going to lead us to a recession, right? Our money is not going as far as they used to. Goods and services are way more expensive than they used to be. Therefore, people are going to stop spending so much money. It's what's going to happen ultimately. So, um, we want to make sure. I'm trying to get David on here. Let's see. Um, we want to make sure that you guys get into the strongest possible position that you can, and analyze, is it better for you to wait or not? Everybody, there's no one size fits all answer here. So just because everybody else is saying, oh, it's tough, and listen, certain price ranges are much harder to deal with, what's because much harder to compete with than others, right? So if you're under $300,000, that's your price range. Depending on where you're at, it's very challenging to get a home in that price range, and a lot of first-time buyers do not have the ability to overbid. It's not an option for people. So, that's all the more reason why having a strong credit profile is going to help you long term. It's going to absolutely help you. It's going to help you compete. It's going to help you get in the game in a lot of places. It's going to help you be way more flexible. Um, and all right, David's about to jump on. Yes, it's going to help you be way more flexible when it comes to your offer. And that's what you want. You want as much flexibility as you can, and you have to be flexible in every possible way that you can right now with the market that we are in. So, once David jumps on, we're going to talk a little bit more about what you can do on the credit side. He's also going to talk a little bit about school loans, right? Um, the good news with the school loans is that we had that law change over a year ago at this point, where as a loan officer, we don't have to take 1% of your school loans anymore, right? We can take 0.5%. And that is a game changer for a lot of people. Can you imagine if we didn't have that rule kick in last year? We'd still be taking 1%, right? So 1% of your school loans as a payment, whether they're deferred or not, doesn't matter. We have to take 1% before February of last year, 2021. So that's a little bit of relief. Thank God for that, because people that have that have student loans right now, they be in even a much worse position with the rates going up. So as the rates go up, guys, the buying power, it's an inverse relationship with your buying power. Rates go up, buying power goes down. This is how it works. Up and vice versa. Rates go down, buying power goes up. So with all that being said, I've got my man, David. David, I actually can't hear you. All right, David's gonna jump on here in a second. So, um, David's going to talk a little bit about the school loans, some things that you can do to help with your school loans. He's also going to discuss some of what he's doing in the community with the students. Right, this is really huge. I'm trying to get him to bring that education to my kids' high school. Um, Probably high school is probably a good place to start. Elementary school, middle school, probably not ready for that just yet, but high school for sure. So he is going into high schools and educating them on credit. So, all right, David, let's see. Uh, you're you're muted still. Yes, if you were running for live, yeah, we're
All
live.
right.
There we go.
I knew it would work.
What's up, man?
Hey.
I had to
Yeah,
I,
man, just trying to do my part. That's
I
for
had to
sure.
carry look, I had to carry this for 30 minutes, man.
Sitting here waiting, like, man, I guess it's a one-man show today.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, man. Well, I've been talking you up, so now you got to deliver.
no
Um,
pressure.
no pressure at all, but I think you can handle it. So, I've been talking a lot about uh, having how important. How I don't think that there's been a more important time to have a really strong credit profile and credit than right now. I really don't.
Yeah,
Um, Interest rates, housing, we got all this stuff going on, and inflation, I think is so important in any market, but definitely right now because from a 680 to a 720, you're in a different, it changes a lot, right? It changes
hmm,
a lot that people can qualify for. It changes what their interest rate is going to be. So a lot happens with that change. So I want you to talk a little bit about that, and then we talked a little bit about the school loans. You and I talked a little bit talking about school loans a little bit,
sure.
and then the other thing is what we're doing, what you guys are doing in the community with these high schools. So those are the
Yeah,
three things I kind of touched on.
cool.
So I'll let you take over from there.
Awesome, and I appreciate it, James. Always a pleasure. And guys, got to be a giver to be a getter, and something that has been on my heart a long time for as long as I've been doing this is,
Yeah,
I talk to people every day. I've been doing this for a decade,
yeah,
and I talk to families, and they're older people sometimes in their 30s and 40s, and they've never had good credit. It's
yeah,
a it's a the real epidemic is financial illiteracy,
yes,
and what better way to start to put a nip in that bud than going after the generation that isn't quite dealing with it yet.
yep,
So, I was approached by somebody in a community close to where I live. They happened to work for a school, took that conversation. And so on the 20th, I'll be visiting my first high school to going to have sort of an assembly to talk to the juniors and seniors there
yep.
about what they're about to get into with student loans. And I mean, everybody remembers when they first got out of high school. You get advertised to. You go to college. People sitting out there with a pizza and a T-shirt saying, "Apply for this credit card."
I just told that story,
Yeah,
David.
yeah.
I
So
got that card too.
yeah. So and this is real life stuff.
Yeah,
And credit is a lifetime to build and a day to destroy.
yeah,
It's so fluid,
yeah,
and it's absolutely detrimental to people sometimes. It's devastating.
yep,
I get super passionate about this stuff because I see both sides of it. I get to see
yes,
the people who have never had good credit,
yep,
have rented their whole life, and finally we get them there and they start to have this new understanding of the power that it brings.
yeah,
And man, they're so grateful.
yep,
It's super rewarding. But as far as the kids go, I mean, they need it.
yep.
The when you and I graduated, I don't know when that was. I graduated in 2002.
I'm
20
slightly
years
older
ago,
than you, slightly.
slightly.
I graduated in the '90s. I just leave it at that.
Okay, yeah. But again, when we graduated,
Yep,
the world that we went out to was a whole lot different than the world that
no
these
doubt.
kids are jumping into.
Yep,
Apartments. If you had a job and you had first and last month's rent, you could get a house anywhere.
yeah,
Property management has changed. I mean, your real estate agents, they'll tell you about this.
no doubt.
They're dictated by credit now. If you don't have the
Yep,
credit score, you ain't getting a rental. These
yeah,
kids want to go out and be on their own and away from their parents. Well, you know, how are they going to be able to do that?
yeah. They can't. I mean, and we Like, and you're 100% right. Like I was obviously not taught, and I mentioned this earlier that my parents didn't. I love I've had a great childhood. When I say this, I don't want people to think, oh, my parents didn't. I didn't grow up with money. My
Hmm.
parents didn't should tell me much about credit. I learned the hard way by
Right.
going out. But now, what you're doing and what we're doing, trying to educate people, especially at that age where they haven't, like you said, they haven't gotten into it yet. Um, I
Hmm.
think if we had this type of education, there's no question I would have operated differently once I got to out of college. Basically, I would have actually, even in college, I would have done things a little bit differently than I did. So I'm so glad that you are doing this. And by the way, if somebody else wants to get a hold of David, if you guys are somebody, a school, you've got some education, you work at a high school. And I want to get your thoughts on this, David, because before you jumped on, I was telling people, like, I think high school is a great age. I think maybe anything before high school might be a little too early.
Well,
This is
no.
my opinion, but you
To
let me
to
know.
kind of to touch on that. So after I had that first conversation, got something set up, I was like, you know what? Let me go to this other school. I'm not going to
Hmm.
put their names out there, right? But I was talking to the CTE, which is Career Tech and Engineering curriculum administrator,
Yeah.
and I was telling him what my goal was, and this is what I want to do, and they ended up putting me on the advisory board for the school to be able to help look at the curriculum and discuss ways that the teachers can pitch this to their students and really dive deep. And he was like, this is just the beginning. Next year, we'll talk about putting you in at seventh grade. So what's going on in a lot of schools right now, in particular the school that my kids go to, they are STEAM based, which is STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math.
Okay.
Um, and I think that's what it is. Something like that, pretty close.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but the kids, when they graduate high school, they are employable.
Mm,
There's programs right now. A kid lives across the street from me. We've been neighbors for 8 9 years. I've watched him grow up, and he's going to end up graduating and being employable as an EMT
mm,
right out of high school. So
wow.
the kind of the and I hate to put this out there, but the need for college is really going away. You
I
know,
mean, listen, I
uh,
think it really
and I'm
depends on
okay with it.
what you want to do. But no, that the way we were brought up, go to college. I mean, listen,
Hmm.
we're not telling people not to go to college. Now, I went to college, I did,
Hmm. Hmm.
but I don't feel like it's not for everybody. It's just not. And even back when I was in college, it wasn't for everybody.
Hmm.
Now there's so many opportunities for people to go out, and I want you to touch on this too, because this also helps the people if they're looking to get into business and wanting
Hmm.
to start a business. But since the pandemic, there's been so many people that have gone out on their own and started businesses, right? We
Right.
we all know a ton of the last 24 months, new business,
Entrepreneurs.
yeah, entrepreneurs, right? And so
Yeah.
again, this credit stuff that David deals with on a day-to-day basis affects that too, because when you start a business, you don't have business credit. Like, they're going off of your personal stuff initially. Like, so all the more
Yeah.
reason why you need to have this stuff in order on the credit side, because even if you're starting a business, you want to get credit at some point.
Hmm.
They're gonna use your personal to start.
Yeah, and I mean, let's look at it like this. I mean, there's a business, right? And they do good work, and they've got a lot of money coming in and out. But at the end of the day, there's an individual at the top running that bank account.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that that individual that has access to all this money is somebody that we feel comfortable doing financial business with.
Yep.
You know, and it is a completely different monster. But I guess the main thing is, I mean, people are starting to realize it. It's since, I guess, 2020, um, since March 19th of 2020, things have really shifted in finance, in credit,
Yep.
in lending. I mean, I saw something pop up as a memory on Facebook, as a post I made where, and you remember this maybe, there was a lot of lenders in March and April that had to have a 680 for an FHA.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's never
Yeah.
that's never been a thing,
Yeah.
right?
And I mentioned, when we're trying to look at what's going on now versus, everybody continues to revert back to '08. right? The
Mhm.
difference, though, back then, people were not as qualified, right? The standards for lending were, I said loose, like loose is an
Yeah.
understatement.
Just just trust me. I make
I'll
$300,000.
make 300. Just trust me.
Don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
We
We're
had a
good.
lot of those just trust me loans back
Yeah.
in 06, 07, a
Yeah.
ton.
I
Right. So
drive a
now,
1997 Mercedes. We're good.
yeah, so we know the standards have changed dramatically
Mhm.
on how to qualify for a mortgage right now. But one thing that has not changed is your credit. Your credit profile needs to be strong. I think,
Mhm.
and even back then, with these crazy loans, these stated income loans, right? People were paying a premium for those type of loans, a big premium, but people didn't care because they could get into the
Mhm.
home, right? So they were
Yeah.
getting in. We know what happened in '08, obviously, but
Sure.
there was a lot of that going on from '05, really, to me, really
Mhm.
'05, '06, '07, leading up to
Right.
'08. So, but yeah, the one thing that has not really changed is the better your credit, the better the long terms you get, the more money you save long term, and the more you can qualify for short term.
Yeah, and it's a good point. One example I give a lot of people is buying cars, right? You will never catch me in my life putting money down for a down payment on a
Mhm.
vehicle.
Yep.
I don't need to do that. Both
Now
cars that I
explain to
bought.
people why, because you and I have had this conversation. I want
Mhm.
you to tell people why.
Right. So it just so happens, right, that when you're talking to the auto finance, and they start working with this number, if you've ever bought a car, you'll notice that they come to you and they say, "Hey, are you okay with this payment?"
Yep.
You are. Okay, you can
Yep.
manage that. They don't tell you what the term is. They don't tell you what the down payment requirement is.
Yep.
They just say, "Are you okay with that payment?" Oh,
Yep.
you are? All right, cool. Let me go make this work. I'm going to go talk to the boss and work some numbers. The reason I don't give a down payment is because they find a way to squirrel that money away. You come to the table with $10,000. Oh, well, you know what? That clear coat, that window tint, that warranty, all this stuff. We're going to go ahead and knock that out with this down payment.
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and eat that up. And then, you end up getting this loan and you looking at it the first time. Well, nobody ever looks at it. I do. But, when you look at the loan initially, it's like, man, where did that money go?
Yeah.
It didn't really lower my rate.
Yep.
And the first car I bought was last year, off a dealership, right? I've always bought cash cars,
Yep.
and so I went up to the Cadillac dealership and I was like, "Look, I'm already pre-approved through my bank. I'm not giving you any money, and this is what I want." And so they were starting to make it work, and they were like, "Well, can you put like 5,000 down?" Yeah, I can. I'm not going to. I got 100% financing, but I had some money that I could put down. But when I
Yep.
got that loan, rather than give them a down payment up front, just give me the loan. I'm good with the payment. Give me the loan. I don't care how
Right.
long you try to stretch it out. Of course, I care about the interest rate, but make it work.
Yep.
So I did that, and my first payment was $1,000. My payment's not $1,000. My second payment, $1,500.
Right.
My third payment, $1,000. And then after that, I'm three payments ahead, and
Right.
I'm when you do that, auto interest accrues differently.
Yeah.
It's a daily interest. So what I do now is I know how to eat up interest. So I'm not worried about the interest rate. I'm gonna pay this car
Right.
off early. I'm probably not even gonna have it,
Yep.
for the term. I'm gonna use it for 2 or 3 years. I'm gonna have a ton of equity, and I'm gonna go and turn it in.
Yep.
So I'm not going to roll over any of that negative. But the other thing is, I'll make my payment. My due date is at the end of the month, but every week that I get paid, I make a $50 payment, $100 payment
Mm,
every single week. It allows
yeah.
me to eat up that daily interest. That
Okay.
way, when I make that huge payment, it's going all towards principal.
Right.
I'm going to pay this sucker off super fast if I want to.
It's almost like when we tell people if they want to pay their mortgage off early to make one extra payment a year, right?
Hmm.
That's something, just something, and one extra payment to principal specifically.
Hmm.
Mortgage amortization in cars a little bit different,
Absolutely.
but kind of the similar concept is,
Yeah.
you get to knock down a ton of interest when you're doing it that way.
Hmm. Yeah, and so you have to stipulate where you want your money to go
Right.
with
Yes.
auto loans too. Do you
Yep.
want it to go towards principal? Do you want it to go towards interest? Do you want it to go towards your upcoming payment?
Right.
So these extra payments that I make every week, it's going to interest until I see in this month I have no interest.
Yep.
Now it's going all towards principal. If I knock out, $50 worth of interest every week, I'm not going to have, $250, $300 interest at the end of the month.
Right.
So when I make that payment, it's like 250 going towards principal, the other 500 going towards the interest. You
Right.
eat up that interest before it starts to grow,
Right.
and you really start to kill the principal. Lower the principal, lower your interest.
So for people that I want you to chime in on this one. So for people that pay off, how does this impact? So people that pay their credit cards off in full every month, right? Is this something that not everybody we know can't do that, but is
Mhm.
this something because a lot of people have the understanding or perception that they actually need to have a balance on a credit card to have something to actually report to the bureau? Because if you have a zero
Mhm.
balance, now
Um,
obviously you've got the history
right.
if you have history, but chime in on this because some people think I need to have a small balance on my credit card to be able to report something to
Sure.
the bureau.
So they heard that somewhere, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to ask my favorite question in this industry. You heard it from somebody. What did that person do for a living?
Right.
That
Yeah.
that told you that,
Right.
right? What do they do for a living? And if they're not involved in credit reports and breaking down credit every
Yeah.
single day, then who knows? And now here's
True.
here's the misconception. So the reason that people say you need to carry a balance is because you have to have activity.
Yes.
For instance, people that are well established with credit and they're had a credit card for 15, 20 years, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes they get to the point where it's like I don't use that card ever.
Right.
Now, when that happens, if you go 180 days, 6 months without any activity on an account,
Yep.
it will go dormant.
Yep.
And it's no longer you could have an account for 20 years, perfect payment history,
Yeah.
no balance. If you stop using it for 6 months, then it can go dormant and you lose all the value of having that history. So
Yes.
it can go dormant. Or, the worst case scenario is this company decides, well, you're not using it, maybe you don't need it. Maybe
And
we'll
close
cut
it.
your limit down from
Yeah.
20 to 10,000.
And there's been a lot of that going on since the pandemic.
Oh, a
Like,
matter of fact, I saw it today where somebody they were 2 payments behind, 60
mhm,
days late on a credit card, and they went ahead and closed it.
yeah.
That's not really typical.
Right.
Credit cards will let you charge off 6 missed payments, but she had several credit cards. She had
Yep.
like 5 credit cards that she was starting to get behind on, and the way I told her, I explained to her, I said these finance companies, they don't care about your credit, they care about your money. And it's like,
That's it.
oh, well, let me help you out. You're in a
Yep.
financial bind. Let me save you some money. I'm going to go ahead and shut this thing down. That way you can't get in any more trouble. I'll
Yeah.
let you keep making that payment. You
Yep.
just keep making your payment, and that way the balance won't grow. Even
And that,
though even though we already increased your interest
yeah.
from 17 to 23%.
Now, and explain this. So when that happens, David, how does that? Because this is a negative. When account gets closed down, your score typically is going to go down. I mean, it gets because now
Yeah.
your available credit here is now here,
Yeah.
which has an
So, I
impact.
mean, credit card debt is
Mhm.
credit card debt, whether it's good or bad,
Yep.
right? So if you got bad credit card debt, let's say you have $1,000 charge off or $1,000 credit card debt on a closed account,
Yep.
right? Well, if that's the only thing you have and you don't have any open available credit, I mean, math, right? How can you have $1,000 worth of credit card debt but no credit card limit?
Right.
So the algorithm is just
Yep.
totally screwed.
Yep.
Utilization of debt is the second biggest factor of what builds a credit score. It's why credit cards are so important. The
Yep.
number one factor being payment history, number two factor being utilization.
Utilization. Yep.
Every single month you've got an opportunity to affect both of those by paying it on time and showing good utilization.
Yep.
Doing that over a long period of time, that's how you get a 700 credit score.
Yeah.
That's how you get to the 800s.
Yeah, and I mean, for a lot of people that are striving to get to that point, or just striving to get, to 7, and by the way,
Yeah,
it's not a
baby steps.
requirement. Yeah, I was good. That's exactly where I was going with this. Obviously, you don't need a 700 credit score to get a loan, right? We can do a
Hmm.
mortgage, but I think right now, while people are in this I'm not sure stage, what I'm going to do. Some people are going to sit out and wait and see what happens. Other people are still actively pursuing, and some people are they don't know what they're just on the fence
Right.
right now. They're fence sitters. But I
Hmm.
think the one thing that everybody can do while you're either pursuing it or waiting is to strengthen your credit profile, which is what you guys specialize in. Which
Hmm.
obviously for us, it helps us when strong. It gives us more flexibility on the loan side. The higher your score, the more things we can do. And with the market we're in right now, we need as much help and flexibility as we can possibly get.
Yeah, and to touch on that, man, we're gonna have some success stories coming around real soon.
Yep.
Clients that you've sent that are in the program, that
Yep.
we're knocking it out of the park for them. They're doing everything I need them to do.
Right.
They are active in this, which matters.
Yep.
So that's definitely coming. As far as that wide variety of different type of people, where are you at in your journey? Um, this is so hard for people to grasp. Um, but there is no instant gratification in this. There isn't.
Yeah.
Um, Nothing good ever came easy, right?
Nope.
Now there are things that we can help with, and deletions is bottom line. We want to get bad stuff removed. That's a win, and
Yeah.
we've got a extremely unique, aggressive process to be able to do that. But one thing that I can't do is I can't add age. I can't put 2 years worth of credit on your credit report.
Yeah.
So, no matter where you're at, the one thing that I ask is have patience. You have to be patient. This is, like I said earlier, credit is a lifetime to build,
Yep.
and one day will destroy it.
It kind of seems unfair, David, but life
Yeah.
isn't fair. Like it is what it is. I mean, you and I know, and a lot of people know that yes, you make a mistake, it will hinder you and hurt you much faster than doing, keeping things good. And listen, stuff happens. I've had
Hmm.
issues in the past, young missing. It's happened, right? I'm by no means and are we saying because David and both of us have had situations in our younger days where we did not have great credit,
Yeah.
but again,
We
that goes back to
we earned it.
education.
We earned it
Yeah,
eventually.
no question.
Um, and yeah, you're right, man. It's something that well, I'll put it this way: bad things happen. Life happens,
Yeah,
and people run into situations. But honest mistake or whatever your situation is, unfortunately, nobody cares when it comes to credit. And and the story behind it, I sympathize. I can have empathy for you. I
yes,
understand it because I've been there,
yeah,
you know but at the end of the day, we get punished for our mistakes even if they're honest,
yep,
you know
yep,
and the more and more I learn about credit, because this is a never ending journey for me.
yes,
I learn new stuff all the time. But the more I learn about it, it's not unfair that people are held accountable. It's really not. And you can have bad things on your credit. You can show that you went through a tough time.
yes,
But
yes,
what have you done for me lately? Right? Did you
yep,
stay? Did you stay in that habit of missing payments and charge offs
yep,
and just doing people wrong, and not being financially responsible, or did you take that situation, learn from it,
yep,
and then bounce back? And if I look at a credit report and okay, you know what, 2016, 17, 18 might not have been your best years.
yep,
But look at this, 2019, she got a credit card, she's got a car loan, she hasn't missed a payment since. He or she, they
yeah,
haven't missed a payment since. They're keeping their credit cards under. Hey, you know what? We looked at her bank statement. She got $10,000 saved up.
yes,
This
all
person is
good.
now trustworthy again.
Yeah,
She got a 650 credit score. It's not the greatest, but you know what? You took a hit,
yeah,
but you're on your way. So the way I put it to people is an underwriter can understand that you went through a tough time. What
yes,
they don't want to see is that you're still there.
The pattern. Yeah.
Woe is me. I
Pattern.
hate to put it this way, but like I said, I understand that life happens, and I understand that there's tough things out there. But I'm here to tell you, nobody cares.
Sure. They don't. Underwriters, yeah, they are
I say that
people.
with love.
No, no, but you're right. I mean, it is true. There's a story. I've had stuff happen, and unfortunately, underwriters are very black and white.
Yeah.
That going by. I mean, there's some small gray areas that
Sure.
an underwriter can say, okay, I get it, I see what's going on,
Mhm.
but it's a lot of typically it's black and white. It is what it is.
Mhm.
Either it is or it isn't.
Yeah,
There's no in between with underwriters.
some things you can have an explanation for, and it
Yes.
makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, but for the most part, you got to earn this. Credit is something that needs to be earned. You need to deserve it.
Yep.
Not, I mean, here I am talking a lot of somewhat. I don't say it's negativity. I'm talking truth.
Yes.
I never want somebody to feel like they're having a conversation with me and I'm blowing smoke. I
Yep.
want to talk realistic. Um, you know, not everyone deserves to be a homeowner. Not everyone deserves to get a great interest rate.
Yeah.
Not everyone deserves the life that they think they do. Um,
Yeah.
what
Agree.
kind of blood,
Yep.
sweat, and tears did you put into it?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and
And nobody's
un-
entitled.
unfortunately, this little 5 6 page report, that's what you're going to be judged on.
Yep. And you know what? Listen, it's not. People will have their opinions about it, but
Yeah.
we it is. Listen, we're all playing in the same game when it comes to the credit situation, like it or not. We got three credit bureaus, and they are keeping either they're keeping track of what we're all doing. It's really simple. It's just all they're doing is just kind of keeping track of what you're doing. Like they're not
Yeah.
making you miss payments.
Yeah.
They're not making you forget. Like they're just keeping track of what you're doing. That's it.
Yeah. And I want to tell everybody, um, you know, this is not an excuse. Well, they made me mad when I called, so I decided not to pay them. That
Oh
is
gosh,
that is not legit.
no.
Um, I mean, again, like James said, this is a game, and you've got to learn how to play it. So when you call somebody and they make you angry, you're going to lose worse. It's not going to affect them one bit whether your account closes negative or not.
Yep.
Trust me, if you paid them every dollar that you owe plus $1 million, you're not making a dent in their bottom line.
No, not at all.
You're a process at that point. Let me write this off, send it to the collection agency. We're done with them.
Yeah.
But it will absolutely destroy you individually. Pay them people. That's the moral of the story. Pay the people. If
Yep.
it's ramen noodles and rice and beans this what, guess what? It's ramen noodles, rice and beans. We're gonna pay them people.
Yeah, I mean, it makes things way more difficult when your credit is not good.
Hmm.
And again, I know good is subjective, but it makes everything more difficult. Period. End of story. You can't tell me this. Oh, I don't need credit. Don't give me the Dave Ramsey. I'm not interested. And
Hmm.
I understand from a consumer debt standpoint where Dave Ramsey talked about. I get it, but for most people,
Hmm.
it's really not about not having credit. I just think it's you need to be way more responsible for your credit and your personal finance because that's where we need to be focusing on. Not hey, don't have any credit. Hey,
Hmm.
learn how to use it responsibly and build it and play the game that we're in.
Yeah,
We're
and you
all
can
playing
win, and you can win, and you can build all the wealth.
it. Yes.
Doing that,
Yep.
leveraging your buying power, leveraging essentially your financial reputation to somebody that is willing to buy whatever you want.
Yep.
They will buy it for you and allow you to pay them back on comfortable terms.
Yep.
I mean, it's one thing to be able to go and buy a brand new car, pay cash for it. It'd be amazing if I could go and buy a house cash. That would be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, it's a whole nother ball game when you don't have to. You
Agree.
know, um,
OPM.
no, yeah,
OPM. Yeah.
OPM, and it's
Uh,
just as addictive as OPM.
OPM. Other people's money. For you guys don't know what we're
Yeah,
talking about.
Yeah.
which is what a mortgage is. Even with the rates going up, like you're getting a two, three, four, $500,000 house, and you're only having to put down 3% or 3.5,
Hmm.
maybe five. You know,
Yeah.
it's
And
not
I
that
mean, people, I had somebody, well, David's rates are crazy. It's a bad time to buy a house. I said, sure, maybe for you. You're talking about interest rates. Um, if you would have called me in 2017, 2018, and we were talking about getting you a 4.5, 5% interest rate, you'd be like, oh yeah, we're
absolutely.
rocking and rolling now.
Yeah,
You
it's all
know, they
perspective,
would have been all about it.
no doubt.
And man, I want to touch on something that you said, about all aspects, right? You were in the military, right?
Yep.
And again, I don't tell people, and I hope I don't offend anybody here, but I never tell, our service members or veterans, I appreciate your service. What I
Mhm.
tell them is I appreciate you putting up with the government so I didn't have to. And they all appreciate that more. So James, we appreciate your service. But one thing I want to touch on here is, in the military, you have security clearance,
Yes.
and um, I can't tell you how many times I do a lot in Fort Hood. I
Okay.
do a lot in North Carolina, Maryland, some military cities. And I can't tell you how many people call me up and say, David, I need that. Okay, what are you trying to do? Oh, I got to stay in the military. I'm trying to advance, and I can't have bad credit. Um,
Yeah.
you know, regular
Yeah.
job employments. I
Yeah.
mean, to be a loan officer,
Yep.
even some real estate agents.
Yep.
You want to work at a bank, you want to be a business owner. Think about this: you're a business owner, and let's say you're a contractor of some sort, and you put a bid into the government, right?
Yep.
I want to build this highway over here. You don't think they're going to look at your credit? Who's this person that's about to take this bid?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether you know it or not, they're looking. People are
It-
looking at it.
we're all being judged. We just are, man. We're all being judged. Like again, like it or not, we are. And so what do we
Here's
do
the good
about
news: we know how to play this
it?
game
You
really
can do
really
so.
well.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I am happy to share the secrets with anybody who's willing to listen. Um,
Yeah.
as long as you want, show me you want it. I'll show you how it's done. I'm happy to break this code with you.
So we are running up on a little bit after 7. So uh, David and I, we might have to start doing this every Monday. I don't know. We're gonna keep it where we're at right now, but we're gonna be back in 2 weeks from today. We'll be back on, but so we'll be back on the 18th. In the meantime, if you have credit questions, you've got mortgage questions, you've got real estate questions, hit me up. Hit David up. All right, the Phoenix Group. David, what's the best way for people to reach you?
Either my office line, scrolling down at the bottom, four
Okay.
six nine 840 4583, or email. I'm happy to take any messages on Facebook. David Rodriguez, credit expert. Super easy. Throw it in Google. I'm sure all my stuff will pop up.
Yeah. And so one of the big things about the Phoenix Group guys is they've got a great track record, great reputation. Nothing's like, don't think David's got a magic wand where he can turn you around in 30 days. But everybody's situation is different. So, you just let him take a look, see where you're at. He will help you and he'll advise you. It's a great company overall, and David does a great job. So again, if you guys know someone in the college or even high school, a lot of people might be watching that's got high school. Call David, reach out to him. Maybe they can set something up to come, because I feel like that's where we gotta go. We gotta go to these high schools and start teaching now before these kids
Hmm.
get to college, and get that credit card and
Yeah,
go buck wild like I did.
absolutely.
so
It'll be great. I'm happy to talk.
So, but all right, guys. So we will be back again. Reach out to David Rodriguez, the Phoenix Group. Guys can also go check me out, Mortgage Boss TV on YouTube, and make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We're gonna have some more good information to help you guys, to empower you guys, to push you to pay attention to what you're doing. Like just Stop running from it. Stop ignoring it. Get your credit report and get some help. Right? We don't want people to feel like, because I think a lot of people are just embarrassed because they just let their stuff go and they don't want to bring it out.
There's nothing that I have found more personal. People, I'm about to get married. She
Yeah.
don't know about this.
Right. Right.
She
Yeah.
don't know I got bad credit.
Absolutely. Yeah. So run a credit check when you're dating.
I cannot tell you how many times I've talked about it, and people are like, it's a requirement. We talk about this probably first
Yeah.
date. What's
The
your credit?
crazy thing is, like, my wife will tell this story. Like, we actually, no, it wasn't the first day, but after we kind of figured, like, hey,
Hmm.
this is gonna be serious. I absolutely, we checked out her credit.
Yeah, gotta vet them. So
So,
not just
hey,
jobs, but also relationships will run your credit.
hey, man, love don't pay the bills.
No, no.
Stuff happens when you're together. I get it, but you better know what you're getting into, because it does. It can impact people for
What's
years,
what's
right?
yours is mine, and what's mine
Absolutely.
is ours.
Yep. So, you guys, if you've got questions, again, reach out to David. You can reach out to me. We will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Any final words, David, as we go? We've got Final Four weekend. Actually, this is it. Today, there's a basketball game tonight in New Orleans, and there's rules to the game, right?
Hmm.
Uh, if you run down the court and you don't dribble, that's illegal.
Out of there.
You
Yeah.
can't do that, right?
Yeah.
There's games to basketball, and we have games in this credit industry, in this
Yeah.
credit world as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. So number one, be conscious. Be conscious of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Um, and let's face the music. Credit problems stem from one thing and one thing only: money problems. Get your money right. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody talks about wanting to be financially secure and stable. Okay, well, yeah, I'll be honest with you. If your money's not right, your credit is secondary.
Yeah.
Once you get the money right, the credit can follow. So be conscious of where you're spending the money. Um, you know, be put a budget down. If you're not doing these things, or at least having some conscious idea of where your money is going, then you're hurting yourself. Be conscious of where your spending is,
Yep.
and then find out where you're at. Pull a credit report. If
Yep.
you have no idea what it's all about and it's confusing, I mean that's what we're here for.
Yep.
Or talk to somebody. Talk to somebody reputable. Don't go to Facebook and start asking questions. Find
Yes.
some, and I will say this. I know I said it earlier, but please, I cannot stress this enough. When somebody is giving you advice on anything, but especially credit,
Yep.
think about what they do for a living, because credit is not something that is easily known. There are basics to it, but when people start giving you advice, telling you how to handle problems, please, please, please take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Great advice. And we will leave it there. Appreciate you guys watching. Again, we'll be back on the 18th. In the meantime, if you got questions, credit questions, mortgage questions, real estate questions, hit us up. We've got a lot of contacts. We've got a lot of people we can get you in touch with. You need a high power realtor. We can get you in touch with one. If you got questions on finance, mortgage finance, credit, reach out to us. We'll get you an answer. And we'll see you guys on the 18th. David, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
thank you.
Anybody got a pick tonight? Kansas, North Carolina. Anybody?
I'm going Casey or
Woo!
Kansas. I'm going with Kansas.
Man, UNC is on fire. So we're gonna see what happens tonight.
Give it the bird.
You know what? I just hope it's a good game. That's what I hope. That it's
Yeah,
not a blowout, and we
yeah.
want to watch it all the way until the end. That's what
I,
I
I
hope.
wonder. I wonder if I got time to put something in on DraftKings.
I think we might be too late, but
Right. Yeah.
you never know. So, all
We'll
right,
play
guys, we will
halftime.
see you. We will see you in a couple of weeks. We'll be back, Homebuyer University, live on the 18th of this month. But again, hit us up if you got questions, and we'll see you guys soon. Peace.